All right, let's get into it. How did Clive Davis, with that so-called golden ear, become the kingmaker of pop and rock? Spill the tea. Hey, it's Emma, and I'm feeling super inspired today. Like, goosebumps already. So, picture this. Brooklyn kid, scholarship grind, Harvard law. Then, boom. Clive Davis pivots from lawyer to record executive and reshapes 6 decades of music. We're talking signings that turned into radio oxygen. Whitney Houston, the vocal comet, Santana, the guitar legend, and a roster that stretches from Janis Joplin to Aerosmith to Earth, Wind and Fire. It wasn't just hits, it was infrastructure, corporate chess, and genre crossovers that felt like kismet moments. Quick story, because I'm in my feelings about this. A few years back, I was at a summer festival. The backstage area was a hot mess of cables and cold brew. I ran into this young singer, just devastated. She'd been dropped from a showcase and felt like the dream was over. We're talking mascara about to go full raccoon. She said, "Maybe I'm done." I said, "No, listen to this." Clive Davis was fired from CBS in the 1970s. The reasons are still messy and disputed, and he turned around and launched Arista Records. He went from canceled to kingmaker in about a year. That's resilience, honey. I told her, keep going. Rewrite the narrative. Fast forward a couple years, she gets signed by an indie, drops a single, and literally messages me that my pep talk saved her sanity. I cried in a parking lot. Not me, but me. And that's the Clive through line. Fall, regroup, dominate. Total vibe. Okay, basics. Who was Clive Davis? He was a record executive, a lawyer, and a producer with 4 Grammys as receipts. Think of him like a master chef of pop culture. He didn't sing the songs, he sourced the ingredients, paired the right producers, timed the single releases, and plated it so the world ate it up. In the 1960s, he rose at Columbia Records and became president in 1967. He was at the Monterey Pop Festival, that California moment that blew the doors off the rock era. He signed or championed Janis Joplin, the raw blues tornado, Santana, that Latin rock blaze, Chicago, the horn-heavy hitmakers, and even snagged Pink Floyd's non-Europe rights for Columbia. Very business savvy. And he had crossover instincts. In 1970, he insisted Lynn Anderson, the country singer, release Rose Garden as a single. It went global, hitting #1 in 16 countries. That's a chef calling the spice that makes the dish iconic. Then came the drama. He was fired from CBS in 1973 amid controversy, we'll get to that, and 1 year later, he launched Arista Records. New label, new flex. At Arista, he showed range. Barry Manilow, the ballad king behind Mandy. Dionne Warwick, the velvet classic. Patti Smith, the punk poet. Aretha Franklin, literal royalty. The Kinks and the Grateful Dead, rock institutions. And Whitney Houston. He heard her in a New York club singing with her mom, Sissy, signed her, curated material, and a superstar was born. That's executive stewardship, not just a pen on a contract, but a strategy for a voice. He also built lanes. Arista Nashville with Tim DuBois gave us Alan Jackson and Brooks and Dunn hitting in the 1990s. LaFace Records with L.A. Reid and Babyface, both R&B hit architects, launched TLC, Usher, Outkast, and Toni Braxton. And Bad Boy Records with Sean Puff Daddy Combs. Clive even admitted he didn't fully get rap, but he empowered the expert who did. That's how you scale culture. You partner, you don't micromanage. In the 2000s, he wasn't done. J Records arrived with BMG backing, and Alicia Keys, the piano powerhouse, rocketed out. He became CEO of the RCA Music Group. Then, after the Sony and BMG shuffle, he stepped into Chief Creative Officer at Sony Music in 2008, advising across labels through the streaming storms. He had producer Grammys in his pocket, including Santana's Supernatural in 2000, Kelly Clarkson's Breakaway in 2006, and Jennifer Hudson's debut in 2009. And yes, he was a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee as a non-performer. That's rare air. Let's zoom on a couple people. Barry Manilow, that radio comfort food you secretly love, was boosted early by Tony Orlando, who signed him in 1969, and Clive kept the wind behind him at Arista. Whitney Houston, the generational voice, had her debut shaped by Clive's curation. This is how an A&R chief turns raw brilliance into a global story. Artists noticed. Aerosmith literally name-checks him in their 1979 song, No Surprise. The Grateful Dead's Bob Weir once flipped a lyric live to joke, "We used to play for acid, now we play for Clive." When bands are writing you into their lore, you're not just a suit, you're a character in the myth. Okay, big unanswered question. Why exactly was he fired from CBS in 1973? Reports at the time, including Rolling Stone, floated allegations about misuse of funds and drugs in a payola context. Another story said he used company funds for his son's bar mitzvah. Clive denied drug or payola ties. Decades later, it's still muddy. Here's my take. These executive roles are pressure cookers. Egos, money, radio politics, and the culture wars of the 1970s. I'm not excusing anything. I'm saying the boardroom is often messier than a tabloid cover. What we do know is that he rebounded immediately, and his results after the scandal reshaped the next chapter of pop and R&B. That resilience is its own headline. His cultural footprint stayed massive. Actor Stanley Tucci, the wry charmer from The Devil Wears Prada, plays Clive in the Whitney Houston biopic I Wanna Dance with Somebody. And Clive helped produce it. The Grammy Museum in Los Angeles even has a Clive Davis theater named for him. And late in life, he came out as bisexual in 2013 on national TV and in his memoir, which, for an industry titan of his generation, was a bold, clarifying move. Representation matters at the top, too. Yes, queen. He passed away in 2026 at the age of 94, and the tributes summed it up. Golden ear, kingmaker, architect of careers. Whether you stand pop, rock, R&B, or country, you've heard his fingerprints. Honestly, the perfect couple in music is talent and the right champion. Clive was that champion, over and over. Okay, quick tease before we go. We're diving into another power player who engineered today's pop dominance from behind the scenes. Think data, think viral, think ruthless efficiency. I'm obsessed already. So that's the tea, folks. Major food for thought, right? We'll pick this up next time. Later.